Please switch on your videos. Okay. So in the morning session, we were discussed about the force and the Newton's laws of motion. We are only discussed about the Newton's first law of motion. Newton's first law of motion is also known as law of, you can unmute and say no problem. Law of inertia. And we have three different types of inertia are the inertia of rest, inertia of motion, and inertia of direction. And one more point you can add along with that, inertia is a measure of mass. Okay, this is one of the most important points that you have already studied sometimes in class 9. Inertia is a measure of mass. If greater the mass, greater will be the inertia. If lesser the mass, lesser will be the inertia. That is, inertia is a physical quantity that is directly proportional to that of the mass. Okay, so all of you write the next point. Inertia is a measure of mass. Under the topic inertia, you can add this point also. Inertia is a measure of mass. Inertia is a measure of mass means inertia is directly proportional to mass. Directly proportional means if one quantity increases, the other quantity automatically increases. So inertia is a measure of mass. If greater the mass, greater will be the inertia. Or if we are consider a less object, object with a less mass, it possesses a less inertia. Okay, so inertia is a measure of mass. Now we can discuss some application of first law of inertia, first law of Newton's first law of motion or law of inertia. Applications of first law of motion. Newton's first law of motion. Don't confuse this laws of motion with that of equations of motion. We have three equations of motion in chapter 3, but here we are discuss the laws of motion that proposed by Sir Isaac Newton. The first application, a passenger in a bus jerks backward when the bus started suddenly because the passenger tends to be inertia of rest, whereas the bus is moved away forcefully. This is one of the application of Newton's first law of motion. Whenever the bus starts or jerks, the passengers always have a tendency to lean backwards. It is because of Newton's first law of motion. Because whenever an external force is acting on the object, it compelled to state the change of rest into motion. Now the second application, when a bed sheet is flicked away, suddenly dust particles fall away as they tend to be in a inertia of rest. Not only in the case of bed sheet, if you are the same thing, we can explain the case of carpet. If you hit the carpet with a stick, you can see that suddenly the dust particles are fall away from the carpet. It is because of the Newton's first law of motion. When a bed sheet or a carpet is flicked away, means it is hit with a stick, you can see suddenly the dust particles are fall away, because we know that inside this carpet or bed sheet, the dust particles are in a state of rest. But whenever we hit this carpet or bed sheet with a stick, they are compelled to change the state of rest into motion. The third application, when a branch of tree carrying a mango is suddenly flicked, mangoes falls off due to the inertia of rest. Here also on this mango tree, the mangoes are in a state of rest, but whenever we are applied or exert an external force on this mango tree, they are compelled to change their state of rest into motion. So when a branch of tree carrying a mango is suddenly flicked, mangoes are falls off due to inertia of rest. Is it over? All these are applications of the Newton's first law of motion. Newton's first law of motion is also known as law of inertia. So that's all about the Newton's first law of motion. Now we are going to discuss the Newton's second law of motion. So before discussing the Newton's second law of motion, we must consider another physical quantity in physics. So that is what is known as momentum. Okay. So before that, I will show you some images. Here in this image, you can see the two cars. What is the difference between these two cars? Both are same. Is there any difference? No. Jodi, is there any?
Toy.
One is a toy car. Very good. What about the second one? It's a real car, right? Okay. So now you just imagine these two cars are in motion, the toy car and also this real car in motion. And to which of these two cars we need to apply a greater force in order to stop that movement of that particular car? Out of these two cars, to which car we need to apply a greater force in order to stop its motion? Is it to a toy car or to this real car? It is to the real car, right? So from this observation, it is clear that there is a particular quantity in physics which is directly proportional to the mass of the object. So here we have two cars. One is a toy car. This is a toy car. Here we have a toy car and this is a real one. So out of these two cars, we need to apply a greater force to a real car in order to stop its motion. So from this observation, it is clear that there is a physical quantity. There is a physical quantity which is directly proportional to mass of an object, which is directly proportional to mass of the object. That is, if greater the mass, greater force is needed to stop its motion. Okay, now I will show another image. Here you can see the two cars, both of them have the same mass. Both of them have the same mass. For example, we can consider it as, what we can say, 1,200 kilogram. This one is 450 kilogram. Both of them have the same mass. Okay, but it is, same mass. So it is 1,200 kilogram. Here also it is 1,200 kilogram. Both the car having the same mass, but they are moving with a different speed. It is moving at a speed of 430 kilometer per hour. It's a rough value. 120 kilometer per hour. Out of these two cars, to which car we need to apply a greater force in order to stop its motion? Is it is to the first car or to the second car? It is to the first car. Why? Both of them have the same mass, but we need to apply a greater force on the first car in order to stop its motion. Why? Because it possesses a greater velocity or speed, right? because it possesses a greater velocity. So from this observation, we can say that there is a particular physical quantity which is directly proportional to velocity of an object. Okay, there is a particular physical quantity in physics which is directly proportional to velocity of the object, velocity of the moving object. Okay, so from this two observation, it is clear that there is a particular physical quantity in physics which is directly proportional to mass of the object and which is also directly proportional to velocity of the object. And that physical quantity in physics is known as momentum, momentum of an object. Okay, so all of you write the next heading, momentum. And what do you mean by momentum? Momentum is the product of mass and velocity of an object. Momentum is the product of mass and velocity of an object. Mass and velocity of a moving object. It is the product of mass and velocity of a moving object. So momentum means it is the product of mass and velocity of a moving object. There is a particular physical quantity in physics which is directly proportional to mass of the object. If greater the mass, greater will be the momentum. If lesser the mass, lesser will be the momentum. And it is also directly proportional to velocity of that moving object. If greater the velocity, greater will be the momentum. If lesser the velocity, lesser will be the momentum. And this momentum is represented by the letter P. It is represented by the letter P. Represented by letter P, not by M. Normally, the students always have a tendency to represent momentum by the letter M. The letter M is used to represent mass. So here the momentum is represented by the letter P. So there is a physical quantity which is directly proportional to mass and velocity of a moving object. That particular physical quantity in physics is known as momentum, or we can say it is the product of mass and velocity of an object. It is the product of mass and velocity of a moving object. So students, can you form a mathematical equation for momentum? Momentum P is equal to, from the definition itself, you can form an equation. Yes, P is equal to M into V. Momentum is the product of mass and velocity. So P is equal to M into V. Then what about its SI unit? SI unit of momentum. We know that P is equal to M into V. What about the SI unit of mass? Lakshmi, SI unit of mass? It is kilogram. SI unit of mass is kilogram. What about the SI unit of velocity? Anyone? Unmute and say. SI unit of velocity? Meter per second. So combine both these units of mass and velocity. Take the product. It is kilogram meter per second. SI unit of momentum is kilogram meter per second, where kilogram is the SI unit of mass, meter per second is the SI unit of velocity. So we can say the SI unit of momentum is nothing. It is kilogram meter per second. So here we study another physical quantity in physics. So as we told earlier, if you know the physical quantity, study its SI unit and dimension. So this is the SI unit of momentum. Then what about the dimension? Dimension of momentum. Yes, the SI unit of momentum is kilogram meter per second, and its dimension is ml raised to minus 1. It is the product of mass and velocity, where m is the dimension of mass and t raised to minus 1 is the dimension of velocity. So we just combine it, we get mlt raised to minus 1. This is the dimension of momentum. Is it clear? Is it clear? Okay. So what do you mean by momentum, Pooja? Momentum?
It is a product of mass and velocity of a moving object.
It is the product of mass and velocity of a moving object. Okay. Malavika, how we can represent momentum? Or mathematical expression for calculating the momentum? Malavika Vibin. Malavika Vibin. No response. Okay. Then from Merrill, mathematical expression for calculating momentum.
P is equal to m into v.
P is equal to m into v. Rahul, what about the SI unit and dimension of momentum?
Ma'am, SI unit is kilogram meter per second.
Okay, dimension.
And dimension is mlt raised to minus 1.
MLT raised to minus 1. So students, I have a question. What about the momentum of an object which is at rest? What's the value of momentum of an object which is at rest? Is it statue?
0.
It is 0. Very good, Pranav. Momentum of an object which is at rest is always equal to 0. Why? We know that momentum is the product of mass and velocity. Momentum is the product of mass and velocity. If the object is at rest, what about the velocity of the object? Is there any velocity possessed by an object is at rest? No, the velocity of an object at rest is equal to 0. Okay, then what about the value of momentum? Momentum P is equal to, it should possess a mass. Whether it is moving or at rest, it must possess a mass. Mass remains a constant. Mass into velocity. Velocity of an object at rest is equal to 0. M into 0 is equal to 0. So we can say the momentum of an object at rest is equal to 0. Momentum of an object at rest is equal to 0. So this is all about the term momentum. So here we are introducing a new term of physics, that is momentum. Momentum is the quantity of motion in a body and depends on its mass and velocity. So there is a particular physical quantity which depends on mass and velocity of a moving object. That particular physical quantity is known as momentum. And here we have the equation for calculating the momentum. Momentum is equal to mass into velocity, or mathematically we can represent it as P is equal to m into v. Momentum is directly proportional to mass. Greater the mass, greater will be the momentum. Momentum is directly proportional to velocity. Greater the velocity, greater will be the momentum. Okay, and here you have the point. If a body is at rest, its velocity is 0 and hence its momentum is 0. We know that if the object is in a stationary position, it doesn't possess any kind of velocity. So if there is no velocity, then the momentum of the object also will be equal to 0. So momentum is a particular physical quantity, that's something regarding or relating with that of the moving object in motion. Every moving body possesses a momentum. Every moving object possesses a momentum. And momentum is a vector quantity. This is another characteristics you can write, you can add along with that of the points of momentum. Momentum is a vector quantity. Why it is known as a vector quantity? Because it possesses both magnitude and direction. Okay, momentum is a vector quantity because it possesses both magnitude and direction. And the next one we are already discussed here. The SI unit of momentum is kilogram meter per second. SI unit of momentum is kilogram meter per second. And here you have the last one is CGS unit. Did you remember about the CGS system? We have different systems of units are there. We are discussed this topic in chapter 2, units and measurement. We have different systems of units are there like FPS system, CGS system, and nowadays we are used to follow the SI system of unit. So the CGS system of or CGS unit of momentum is gram centimeter per second. The CGS unit of momentum is gram centimeter per second. Normally nowadays we are only asked to find out the or write the SI unit of momentum because we are usually follow the SI unit, not the CGS unit. Anyway, you can note this point also. The CGS unit of momentum is gram centimeter per second. This is the CGS unit. SI unit of momentum is kilogram meter per second. Okay. So now you have an idea about the term momentum because the momentum is a term, something that is related to that of the Newton's second law of motion. That is why we are consider this term first. So can we move to the next law of motion? Is it clear? Is okay. All right. So the next one is Newton's second law of motion. All of you write the next heading. Newton's second law of motion. Newton's second law of motion. Newton's second law of motion states that the rate of change of momentum of a body is directly proportional to the applied force and it takes place in the direction in which the force acts. This is what is the Newton's second law of motion. Only need to write the statement. We can derive this expression after that. Newton's second law of motion states that the rate of change of momentum of a body. Now we have an idea about what you mean by momentum. It is the product of mass and velocity. So the rate of change of momentum of a body is directly proportional to the applied force and it takes place in the direction of the force in which it is applied. The rate of change of momentum of a body is directly proportional to the applied force and takes place in the direction in which the force acts. Is it over? Don't need to write this derivation, only write this law, statement of Newton's second law of motion. The rate of change of momentum of a body is directly proportional to the applied force and takes place in the direction of force. Is it over?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now write the next subheading. Expression for force. Expression for force. Actually, we are starting this chapter with defining the force and we are classifying the force into two types, balanced force and unbalanced force. But we didn't find an equation for calculating the force. So actually the equation for force are deriving from this Newton's second law of motion. From the Newton's second law of motion, we get an equation for calculating the force that acting on an object. So here, according to Newton's second law of motion, it states that the rate of change of momentum, the rate of change of momentum of a body is directly proportional to the applied force. Okay, rate of change of momentum means change in momentum. Right? What do you mean by rate of change of momentum? Rate is indicates what? Rate, time. Very good. Time taken. Okay. The rate of change of momentum. Rate of change of momentum means change in momentum by time taken. Rate of change of momentum is directly proportional to what? Read the statement of second law of motion. Rate of change of momentum is directly proportional to what? Yes, it is directly proportional to the applied force. Applied force is nothing, it is the force. Okay, so the rate of change of momentum is directly proportional to the applied force. So here we are going to derive an expression or equation for calculating the force from the Newton's second law of motion. So according to Newton's second law, the rate of change of momentum, which means change in momentum divided by time taken, it is directly proportional to applied force. So change in momentum by time taken is directly proportional to force. Or mathematically, we can represent it as force is represented by F. Force F is directly proportional to rate of change of momentum. How we are normally representing the rate of change of momentum? It is by dp by dt. Okay, for example, if we have rate of change of velocity, the rate of change of velocity is represented by dv by dt. Similarly, the rate of change of displacement, we are represented by dx by dt. Similarly, the rate of change of momentum, it is represented by dp by dt. Okay, so the rate of change of any physical quantity are represented like this, dp by dt. Okay, if it is momentum, we can represent it is by dp by dt. If it is velocity, we can represent it by dv by dt. If it is position or displacement, dx by dt or ds by dt respectively. So here we have rate of change of momentum is directly proportional to force. So F is directly proportional to dp by dt. F is directly proportional to dp by dt. Again, F is directly proportional to d by dt of P. P is the momentum. What is the equation for calculating momentum? Tushar? P is equal to? Yes, it's right. Anyone? P is equal to? mv. P is equal to mass into velocity, right? So here force is directly proportional to d by dt of mv. D by dt of mv. And we know that m. What is m? It is the mass. Mass of any object is always remains a constant. Whether the object is in the earth or in the moon, mass always remains a constant. So we know that we cannot find the derivative of a constant. So we can take it outside. So it becomes F is proportional to, since mass is a constant, we can take it outside. So m into dv by dt. Since mass is a constant, we can take it outside. Our equation becomes F is proportional to m into d by dt of v. That is, F is proportional to m into dv by dt. Are you familiar with this term? What is dv by dt represents?
Acceleration.
Acceleration. Here dv by dt means rate of change of velocity. We are already discussed in our previous chapter. The rate of change of velocity is nothing. It is acceleration A. So F is proportional to ma. F is proportional to ma. And we know that in physics, we have a normal tendency to replace this proportionality sign by introducing a constant. So here we are going to change this proportionality sign by introducing a constant. So here we get F is proportional to ma. That is, F is proportional to mass and acceleration of an object, or F is equal to K into ma. Here we are going to replace this proportionality sign by introducing a constant. That constant is known as K. Okay, so here K is nothing. It is the proportionality constant. It is known as the proportionality constant. K is known as proportionality constant. And the value of K is equal to 1. Normally, in most of the cases, the value of the proportionality constant seems to be equal to 1. So here, the value of proportionality constant K is equal to 1. Then what will be our equation becomes F is equal to, here the value of K is equal to 1. So F is equal to, what is remaining here?
MA.
F is equal to ma. So this is the mathematical equation or expression for calculating the force. This equation or expression for force is deriving from the Newton's second law of motion. So Newton's second law of motion gives a relation between force and acceleration of the moving object. If greater the acceleration possessed by the object, greater force will be applied on it in order to stop its motion. So F is equal to ma. F is directly proportional to mass. F is directly proportional to acceleration. Is it clear? So here we are starting from the Newton's second law of motion. Consider the Newton's second law of motion. So please keep the statement in your mind. What is the Newton's second law of motion? States the rate of change of momentum of an object is directly proportional to the applied force, and it takes place in that direction in which the force is acts. So from that statement, we take the first sentence. The rate of change of momentum. Rate of change of momentum means change in momentum divided by time taken. Rate of change means the change of a physical quantity with respect to time. So here the momentum is changed with respect to time. It is directly proportional to force. So dp by dt, any physical quantity is changed with respect to time. We are represented in the form dp, d by dt of that particular physical quantity. So dp by dt is proportional to force. And we know that P is representing momentum. Momentum is the product of mass and velocity. So we can say the force is directly proportional to d by dt of mass and velocity. But here, mass is a physical quantity which is always remains constant wherever the object, whether it is in the surface of the earth or it is in the moon, wherever you go, your mass will remain say constant. So we cannot find the derivative of mass of an object. So we taken it outside. So F is proportional to mass into derivative of the velocity, d by dt of velocity. And from the previous chapter, we have an idea that derivative of velocity, the rate of change of velocity is known as acceleration. So our equation become F is proportional to ma. In order to replace the proportionality sign, here we introduce a constant. That constant is known as K. It is the proportionality constant and its value is equal to 1. So our equation is F is equal to ma. This is the mathematical equation for calculating the force. So now here from this equation, we get one more unit for calculating the force. So we know that F is equal to ma. What is the SI unit of mass? SI unit of mass?
kg.
Kilogram. Good. SI unit of acceleration? I need the quick answers. Very lag. Acceleration.
Meter per second.
Square.
Meter per second square. Okay. So the mathematical unit, it is not the SI unit. The mathematical unit of force is kilogram meter per second square. This is the mathematical unit of force. It is not the SI unit. What about the SI unit of force? SI unit of force?
Newton.
Newton. SI unit of force is Newton. Mathematical unit of force is kilogram meter per second square. So whether in the question paper you have to ask to find out the SI unit, it is Newton. It is not kilogram meter per second square. Kilogram meter per second square is the mathematical unit of force. So this is about the Newton's second law of motion, and from the Newton's second law of motion, we derive a expression for calculating the force. From that, we get a relation between force and acceleration. So from this Newton's second law of motion, we can say that F is equal to ma, or force is directly proportional to acceleration. This is the relation between force and acceleration. Both are directly proportional to each other. If greater the force, greater will be the acceleration that is possessed by the object. Or if the object is possess a greater acceleration, then we need to apply a greater force in order to stop its motion. So force is a physical quantity which is directly proportional to acceleration. So now let us see what are the applications of Newton's second law of motion. Applications of Newton's second law of motion. A cricket player moves his hands backwards on catching a fast moving cricket ball. This is one of the application of Newton's second law of motion. A cricket player moves his hands backwards on catching a fast moving cricket ball. This is because here you can see the explanation. A fast moving cricket ball has a large momentum. Okay, it possesses a large momentum because it possesses a mass. Along with that, it is coming with a fast moving. Fast moving this means it possesses a high velocity. Both the mass and velocity is high, so we can say it possesses a large momentum. So in order to catch the ball without causing any injuries, we need to reduce its momentum by decreasing its velocity. For that, the catcher moves his hand backwards. So when he moves his hands backwards, then the ball takes a lot of time, or the time to catch the ball increases. As a result, the velocity decreases. Whenever the velocity decreases, momentum is also decreases, because velocity is directly proportional to momentum. Whenever the velocity decreases, momentum is also decreases. A cricket player moves his hands backwards on catching a fast moving cricket ball. So actually he moves his hand backwards in order to increase the time to catch the ball. Whenever the time increases, the velocity possessed by the ball is automatically decreases. If the velocity decreases, momentum is also decreases. So he can catch the ball without causing any injury to his hand. Only need to up to here. I think you don't need to write all the explanation. You just try to understand the phenomenon, try to correlate it with that of the Newton's second law of motion. For your MCQ pattern question, sometimes the application should be given. You need to find out whether it comes under which type of law. Is it an application of Newton's first law, second law, or one more law is there, Newton's third law of motion. Most of them are like to be study the Newton's third law. I know that you know the third law of motion very clearly. Is it over?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now the second application, a high jumping or long jumping athlete is provided either a cushion or a heap of sand on the ground to fall upon. Only need to write the application, don't need to write the explanation. A high jumping or long jumping athlete is provided either a cushion or heap of sand on the ground to fall upon. We know that a high jumper comes with a large momentum. He possesses a mass, its own mass, and along with that, he is moving very fastly. So he possesses a very large velocity. So in order to make a safe land without causing any injuries, he need to reduce his momentum to be zero. So for that, a cushion or a heap of sand is normally provided. So it increases the time to land on the ground. Whenever the time increases, velocity possessed by the moving object automatically decreases. When velocity decreases, we can say the momentum is also decreases. So he can land on the ground without causing any injuries. The third application is packing materials like thermocol, corrugated sheets, bubbled plastic sheets, straw, paper strands, etc. are used while packing glassware, chinaware, or electronic devices, etc. In our daily life, we can see this phenomenon. That is, in order to packing this glassware or electronic devices, we are normally packed with some thermocol or corrugated sheets or bubbled plastic sheets. Normally, bubbled plastic sheets are used to cover the glassware. Glasswares are mainly covered by thermocol sheets, and some electronic devices are covered by bubbled plastic sheets. Because these materials helps to increase the time in which the momentum comes to zero when jolting or jerking takes place. Whenever it is carrying from one place to another place, it increases the time between the jerking between these devices. So as the time increases, the velocity between them is decreases. So velocity decreases, momentum also decreases. Hence, the articles do not get broken. So these are the applications of Newton's second law of motion. Newton's second law of motion, something related with that of the momentum possessed by an object. It's a new physical quantity that we are introducing today, momentum. It's the product of mass and velocity. And from the Newton's second law of motion, we derive an expression for calculating the force. And we find the relation between force and acceleration. Both are directly proportional to each other. Is it over? Only need to write the heading or the particular applications. I will send explanations in the note. Lecture note in the class note. Okay. Okay, children, now it's the